Hello everybody, I welcome you again this week to our discussion on indigenous, hence the indigenous voices. I know that you are still staying away, keeping safe and maintaining social distancing. I just want to let you know that we all are going to get through this, and our heart goes out to families that are losing their loved ones. Our heart goes out to those that have been infected and that are struggling with their lives right now. And we pray that they get well. Those that are dead, there's nothing we could do. We want to appreciate all the health practitioners who are working in the front of this, making sure that lives are being saved. Right. And today, we are still dealing with our topic, the sign language attitude, deaf and hearing impaired. Sign language attitude, deaf and hearing impaired. And last week we discussed sign language attitude of the hearing impaired. And I know that you remember our definition of who a hearing impaired is and who a deaf is. So, and when I mean deaf in English word, I mean deaf with a capital D. And today, I want to take us through the attitude of sign language of a deaf. And I pray that you are going to follow me and go through this exciting moment. All right. And I'm going to be reading from a book today, one of the notable deaf in America. I'm going to be reading from the book of Carol Pardon and Tom Humphrey, just to give you an idea of who a deaf is and the relationship a deaf has, or the attitude a deaf has towards language. Permit me to read from Carol Pardon. It says, following a convention proposed by James Woodward in 1972, we use the lowercase deaf when referring to the audiological condition of not hearing, and the uppercase deaf when referring to a particular group of deaf people who share a language, and in this case, she said American Sign Language, and a culture. The members of this group reside in the United States and Canada, have inherited their sign language, use it as a primary means of communication among themselves, and hold a set of belief about themselves. These are people who reside in a particular definable or defined geographical location. Then in the geographical location, they are also dispersed in different geographical locations, but being bound by one belief, being bound by one culture, and a culture that is being related to their attitude towards the language they use. In other words, if there is anything that binds the deaf together, it is the use of sign language. I'm going to read further to throw more light to show you that this is not all about deaf in America. I happen to borrow the idea of Carol Pardon and from her book, and I want to show you more what she said in this same chapter. It says, Woodward 1978 have suggested that self-identification with a group and skill in ASL should be important diagnostic factors in deciding who is deaf. In other words, it is the embrace of sign language. It is the attitude of a deaf person to sign language that is one primary factor that determines who a deaf is. I know I may have been throwing some confusion when I started this topic to some people, But I just want you to know that everything I have been discussing in this platform is everything that has been fact found. It is evidence based. I am not talking fallacy. I'm not talking out of the blues. I'm talking from my studies and from the studies of notable scholars who have been in this area of study before me. And I'm going to add this according to Patton. He says, also following Woodward, we use the term deaf in this book to refer to other cultures of people who do not hear and who use sign language other than ASL. And that is to say that even though this definition started with deaf in America who use ASL, it doesn't just define deaf in America. It defines deaf in every culture who use their language. In that case, it is an inheritance of that deaf community. It defines deaf in Africa who use their different indigenous sign languages. And I'm sure you know that American Sign Language is a sign language of deaf in America, and in some part of Canada, it is their inheritance. It is their cultural and linguistic heritage. The way a hearing person who lives in America, who is born in America, refers English is the way a deaf in America who was born in a deaf family who acquired ASL as primary language refers ASL. And the same way a deaf person who was born in any other community, any other deaf community, in any other linguistic community other than ASL should see or view their sign language. And the view towards that sign language is what makes that person deaf. And also the view towards that sign language is what defines the deaf person from the hearing impaired. And that same view is what defines the development of that sign language. Years back, sign language was not referred to as a language. We have discussed this until scholars started studying and said, oh no, let's check this again. Let's look at what goes on in this language. And many studies started springing up. And today, both the users and the researchers and those studying sign language have come to a very full understanding that sign language is a language of the people. It grows like the spoken, the one I'm using through my vocal cord. Same way the one a deaf person uses through their with their hands. So long as it's a communal experience, so long as it's an inherited linguistic and cultural experience, that's what happens. Okay, all right. We would leave Carol Patton here and go to an experience. Let us go follow Lynette Taylor through her experience. I want to let you know that Lynette Taylor is a hearing a coder, and you know that coder is hearing child of deaf adults. And I want us to follow her to her description of her experience growing up in a deaf family. And she begins this way. It says, as a coder, when I left home to go to college, I never dreamt that I was leaving my mother tongue. It never dawned on me that there wouldn't be deaf people where I was going, and that ASL would be nowhere in sight. Never were my eyes so lonely. This touched me. But on a second thought, I was like, come on, who is writing? A deaf or hearing? Man, he's a hearing person. She said, as a coder, when I left home to go to college, I never dreamt that I was leaving my mother tongue. A hearing person referring to sign language as her mother tongue is what we mean by language attitude. If you are deaf, what is sign language to you? Sign language, I said in the last 2 weeks that deaf around the world, they own sign language. But there are two things in owning sign language. Do you own sign language because it is your primary means of communication? Or do you own sign language because you use it because you find yourself deaf? You use it because you got no choice. If you use sign language as your primary means of communication, what is your attitude towards it? How much have you contributed to your sign language, to the development of your sign language, and not another person's sign language? How much have you contributed to that, the sign language of your immediate environment? Do you know the definition of it? Do you ever even think that you own a sign language? Now, this is a deaf person. I mean, this is a hearing person. And he continues to say, is that much like an immigrant leaving their homeland, I had to go in search of my motherland. Luckily, I had a map, one given me by my mother, that not only taught me the way to ASL, but also how to travel. She taught me that when you meet the community, you come bearing gifts, whatever they may be. In my case, it was interpreting. It was through volunteering interpreting that I found my way back home. But I couldn't have done this without a map. Such a beautiful, beautiful way to begin a biography. But such a strange way, a beautifully strange way to begin a biography of a hearing person. I couldn't imagine this until I stumbled into this book, onto this write-up. So again, this is a typical evidence of what language attitude means to a person born in a family, a deaf family.